Welcome to page 17 in Excel packet number 3. Today, our I can statement is, I can use the distributive property to solve equations with integers. Let's review the rules for combining terms and multiplying and dividing integers. When we have like signs, such as a -5 combined with a -10, we add. However, when you're asked to combine a -10 with a +7, those are unlike signs, and we actually subtract to get a result of -3. When we multiply and divide, we use the Margar rules. When you have like signs, you get a positive result. But when you have unlike eyes or signs, you get a negative result. Let's jump in to solving some equations. As always, drop a dotted line down the equal sign. That helps to find the left and the right-hand side. Let's begin. Let's start by distributing the -2. We need to multiply each term by a -2. Use your Margar rules. A -2 times a +4x gives you a -8x. Then a -2 times a loss of 6 gives you a gain of 12. And bring down the -12 on the right-hand side. Now that we've eliminated the parentheses, we're ready to solve. We need to get rid of that gain of 12, so let's zero it out by subtracting 12 from the left and subtracting 12 from the right. Let's term combine. Those are like signs, so we're going to add the loss. What do we get? -8x equals, well, a loss of 12 and a loss of 12 makes a total loss, or a -24. Now it's time to divide each side by -8. Since we're dividing, we're going to use the Margar rules. -24 divided by -8 leaves you with a +3. Let's take a closer look at problems 1 through 4. You'll be using the distributive property to solve each one of these equations. Start by dropping a dotted line down each equal sign. Pause the video if you need a little extra time. Now that we've dropped our dotted line, let's also add a 1 where necessary. For example, in problem number 1, right behind the negative symbol, we're going to put the number 1. And we're going to distribute that -1 to each one of those terms. In problem number 2, we're going to put a 1 behind the negative sign, but also in front of the x. And we're going to distribute the -1 to each of those terms, which of course will be flipped to their opposite. In problem number 3, slide a 1 in front of the x, sort of a standard procedure for us when a variable stands alone. You'll distribute the -2. And lastly, in problem number 4, slide a 1 in front of that x. You're going to multiply or distribute that -3 to each of those terms. Let's do one together, and then you'll do the rest on your own. Let's start with number 2. We're going to distribute or multiply by a -1 in order to eliminate those parentheses. The 30 stands alone on the left side, but here we get Negative 1 times 1x, we get negative 1x. The term is flipped to its opposite. And then the loss of 5 becomes, as we multiply, a gain of 5. Now it's time to solve. Take away 5 from both sides. As we move towards isolating that x variable, we're left with negative 1x, and on the left side, we have 25. Now divide both sides by negative 1. X now stands alone, and on this side, we use the Margar rule. A positive divided by a negative gives us a negative 25. Negative 25 equals x. Now complete the rest on your own. Pause the video, and when you're ready, turn the video back on to check your work. Please pause the video right now. All right, let's check your work. When we solve number 1, we know that this is a place where kids tend to make a mistake. We have different signs, so we subtract. We get a negative 12. Check your work. And then we apply the Margar rules. Negative 12 divided by negative 2 is a positive 6. Give yourself a C. For number 3, 24 take away 8 is a positive 16. When we take a positive divided by a negative, we get a negative 8. X equals negative 8. Give yourself a C. And lastly, when we combine negative 60 and negative 45, we get negative 105. Then divide by a negative 3. We use the Margar rules. We get a positive 35. Give yourself a C. X equals a positive 35. This concludes page 17.